Hey everyone, so just a quick breakdown for the video. It's obviously, like the title says, a video showcasing, in my opinion, some of the best ways to play Galio on release. I'm going to first break down Galio himself and his new keyword, and then jump into the decks explaining what they're trying to do, and some alternative cards to consider adding into the decks. Keep in mind this is being made before the patch, like I said, so it's literally impossible to optimize these decks at the moment. I think they should be good to hop into day 1 with, and also give you some ideas for how to potentially tweak your own. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to consider liking the video, as it would help out a lot, or subscribing to the channel. I make new Runeterra videos every single day. Also, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask me in the comments, as I make sure to answer every single one. But yeah, into the video. So Galio and a lot of his support cards come with a new keyword called Formidable. It means that the unit that has the keyword strikes with their health instead of their power. This Petricite Broadwing is a good example for the keyword. It has Challenger and Formidable, and 3 health, which means it's basically a 3-3 on turn 2 with Challenger. This is overstated compared to most of the units in the game right now. However, the trade-off is that when these cards lose health, they also basically lose attack, right? Then we have Galio. He is a 7-drop that's technically 0-8, but it's sort of 8-8 because of Formidable. He also comes down with Spell Shield for protection, and on summon he grants all other allies 3 health. Then on round end, if your allies have 25 plus total health, he levels up, and gains the effect of each round. The first time an ally takes damage, you rally. So this deck wants to take advantage of Galio's champion spell, which is Shield of Durand. It grants an ally plus 3 health, and then another 2 health on the start of the next round, and then use it onto Fiora. So Fiora is a 3-2 challenger unit that straight up just wins you the game if she kills 4 units. So she has a nuts ability, but low HP to let her actually kill those 4 things. And swallow the HP from Shield of Durand is really awesome for her. It also takes advantage of this new bundle card called Quick Quill. It has a new keyword called Attach, where it functions like equipment, and can be attached to a unit, granting the unit its keywords and stats. So giving Fiora a permanent quick attack and some stats is super good for her. And so Quick Quill and the health spells are best on Fiora, but also good on the other units as well. Especially other challenger units, like Screeching Dragon, Leap Feather Tracker, and Petricite Broadwing. Then we run strike spells for removal, or just winning the game easier with Fiora. These spells are Single Combat, Concerted Strike, and even a new card called Winds of War. It heals an ally to full, and then it functions like a single combat. Rallies also help Fiora get kills, since she has Challenger. Then we also get to use a new card called Friendship. It gives an ally barrier or spell shield, and the flexibility is super good since it'll always be useful on Fiora in virtually any matchup. We also have a Durand Prodigy. It grants a unit plus 1 HP and tough, which reduces all sources of damage by 1, again being amazing on Fiora, or really any unit in the deck, especially challengers. An extra card to consider as well would be Petricite Stag. So I don't really know if it's going to be better than like a Screeching Dragon, which has Challenger, but it has a cool effect that would probably be good in this deck. It has a decent stat line, and it also has this support effect, where it takes all the damage for its supported ally this round. And so supporting Fiora with this could be really good. And keep in mind, this is for the whole round, right? So even after the combat, you'll still be able to take advantage of this effect, maybe with like single combats or something. Another card you could consider is Stress Defense. It sets a unit's stats to 1/6, which can be used to save a unit like Fiora from dying, and could potentially give 5 health like the Shield of Durand. It is temporary though, and removes some of your attack. That's partly why I didn't put it in. However, based on what we know about attach cards, if you Stress Defense on your Fiora, and you also had a Quick Quill attached to it, your Fiora should be a 2/7, since the attached unit would be unaffected by the Stress Defense and put its bonuses on top of it. So I think it would be a decently flexible card. I'm just not sure if it really deserves to be in the deck. So this version is more of a combo deck that uses Riven and her Blade Fragments. Riven is a 3-4, but when summoned, if you have the attack token or when you gain the attack token, you reforge, which means you get a Blade Fragment. These fragments are 1 mana focus speed spells that give an effect like +2 attack, overwhelm, or quick attack. And once you've used all 3 fragments, you will create a Blade of the Exile in hand, which is a 1 mana grant a unit +2 attack, overwhelm, and quick attack, basically all in one. And then also Riven levels up upon seeing this in your hand, and gets an effect where the first time her attack would be increase it by double instead. So Riven can get pretty insanely big, and threaten to end the game by herself. But these spells can also be used to create other threats when used on different units, which we'll get to. Also, this Blade Squire and this Runeweaver can also give you blades, so you don't have to just rely on Riven. Also, I should say in advance that this is probably one of the more meme versions of Galio, and it was also created by Swim. It does look really fun though. But yeah, like I said, we have a Riven that can just end games by herself. We can also put the Blade of the Exile, or at least the Overwhelm fragment, onto the Greyhorn Companion for a threatening double attack since it has Scout. The deck also has a cheesy combo with this Durand Architect card. So Durand Architect has a support effect where you give your supported ally +2 health and Formidable this round. And so this will be used to support the Battering Ram card. So Battering Ram is a 0-12 unit with Overwhelm, and so when granted this support effect, it would be attacking for 14 Overwhelm damage. It also just has a lot of health to level up Galio easy. Also, it has this effect where it grants itself 4 power whenever it attacks, which isn't immediately useful when you give it Formidable, but at least like after the first attack, if it starts losing health, or your like Durand Architect dies, it'll still start to give itself some crazy stats regardless, because once it attacks for the second time, it's already an 8 attack Overwhelm for 6, which is pretty scary. And so it's obviously also a decent like Blade of the Exile target. It already has Overwhelm, but giving it the attack or quick attack would be useful on it, and keep it healthy. You also get to abuse its effect by attacking a lot of extra times with rallies from Golden Aegis, and also using Cataclysms, and potentially even leveling up Galio for the extra rallies. So one card to keep in mind as well would be Transfusion. It's super cheesy and doesn't really fit in this deck, but maybe a differently built version of Noxus Galio could use it well. It deals 1 damage to an ally, and then gives another one +2/+2. So it's kind of like an extra sharp sight, but since Galio lets you rally when you take damage each turn, this technically could let you burst speed rally, which could be nuts. So this Poppy version is pretty straightforward. Poppy grants all allies with equal or less power than her +1/+1, and when she has attacked with allies 3 times, she levels up, granting them +2/+2 and impact, which most of the time should win you the game. And so this has cool synergy with these Formidable units, as they will always be less power than Poppy, since they all have 0 attack. So again, we can basically play all the Formidable cards like Petricite Hound, Petricite Broadwing, and this Mountain Drake. We also want to combine these Formidable cards and Poppy with this Yordle Smith. The Yordle Smith works the same as Poppy by buffing all allies with equal or less power than him, but he gives them quick attack. So this has some crazy synergy, since it sort of cheats its like quick attack onto units that can strike for a lot more than his 2 attack, like Galio or that Mountain Drake, which is Formidable and has 6 health, basically 6 attack. Then we abuse these rallies to attack multiple times, threatening to level up Poppy, and just taking advantage of our whole board having quick attack. We have Golden Aegis, Relentless Pursuit, and even potentially Galio on level up. So out of the cards to consider adding in, the first one would be Ranger's Resolve. So Ranger's Resolve is a 1-mana burst speed spell that gives all of your allies tough this round. So it's like this very broad protection to your whole board, which can be really good against the right meta, especially against decks that have like board wipes or like board damages like Whale or like Makery and stuff like that, especially since your Formidable units would actually lose attack as well as losing health. So depending on the meta, you could definitely throw in some Ranger's Resolves. Another possible card to consider would be this Yordle Ranger. It's sort of a weird card that didn't make too much sense before, but now that Formidable is released, it kind of makes sense in this deck. So it has Scout so it can attack twice, and then on each attack it grants all allies with equal or less power than it +1 health, which obviously will be all your Formidable units. So it's kind of a way to like stack HP onto your whole board, possibly twice, or potentially even more. I'm not sure if it really fits in, but it's definitely worth considering, because if it does fit in any deck, it's probably this one. You could also potentially consider Durand Sculptor. So it has 2 attack to be able to get buffed by Poppy and the Yordle Smith, but it also makes it so that when you summon another ally, you grant it +1 health. So this would be useful on basically any unit like Poppy, and especially obviously your Formidable units. I just don't know if it's actually good enough to actually make the cut, but again, just wanted to bring it up in case you wanted to consider it. So this version wants to get as much value as possible out of the Formidable keyword by using all of Freljord's health buffing spells, like Elixir of Iron, give an ally +2 health this round, Troll Chant, give an ally +2 health this round, and also give an enemy -2 attack. So it's really good value. You can kind of make one Formidable unit deal extra damage and stay healthier, and then also use it on another unit to keep it healthier. or potentially swing 4 points of damage on a single unit for only 2 mana. And we also run Bloodsworn Pledge. You grant 2 different allies 3 health. Then we also play Braum in the deck. So Braum is a 0/6 challenger regen unit, and the first time he survives damage, you summon a Mighty Poro, which is a 3/3 overwhelm unit. And then once he levels up, he summons that Mighty Poro every single instance of damage he takes. And then we run the Architect again. When he supports an ally, you give the supported ally +2 health and Formidable this round. So if you support Braum, you could on turn 4 basically attack as an 8/8 unit, and you'd have Challenger. And this could threaten a lot of things like Gnar, for example, and it could give him a lot of progress towards his level up. We can also use the Architect onto this Bone Scryer. Bone Scryer, whenever it survives damage, deals 1 to the enemy nexus, so it's a little bit of burn, and can threaten a lot of damage. One of the considerable cards for this deck would be Three Sisters. It's a 1 mana burst speed spell that gives you a choice of 3 different spells. You can either create a Flash Freeze in your hand, which is a 3 mana Frostbite an enemy unit, or you can choose a Fury of the North, which is a 4 mana buff that gives a unit +3 attack and +4 health. Or you could create an Entomb, which is a 5 mana card that obliterates a unit and then puts it inside like this landmark. That'll resummon the unit once it reaches its countdown. By the way, this is actually good to keep in mind against like attached decks. Because of what the developers said, when you obliterate a unit, apparently it also obliterates the attached unit. And so Entomb can be a pretty good way to do that, especially in Freljord. But because of how slow this deck is, I really think that this could be a good version to run the Gorlith the Unscalable. It's one of the new cards that came out with Galio. It's a 9-drop with Tough and Formidable, but when it's summoned, you swap your health with your Nexus's health, and then it can't be blocked by enemies with less health than it. And so I imagine with this deck having all these units and all the buff spells, that you could probably stay pretty healthy, and then this could potentially OTK people. And if you're running Gorlith, then you could also potentially consider this card, called Cold Resistance. I just wanted to mention Cold Resistance because it's kind of like never used, this card is like never played. But if it does make sense in any deck, it's probably like a formidable Freljord deck, like this one, that wants to go late game, like running Gorlith. So you could basically be playing Gorlith on turn 8, and it grants an ally +2 health, which is obviously good for formidable units. So I'm not exactly sure how good Gorlith is, but it definitely looks really fun. And so I would probably consider like cutting, like let's say like Bone Scryers, maybe even like the Winds of War or something, maybe even some Strikes, to be able to fit Gorlith in. So this last version might be the one I'm most interested to try. It's basically a new way to play Starspring. It's a landmark that on round end, you heal damaged allies 1. Then once it's seen you heal 22 plus damage from allies, you just win the game. And so this, along with formidable units, pairs well with Soraka. She heals herself and her supported ally by 4, which helps Starspring, but also allows you to get the full value from a lot of your formidables over and over. The other cool part about this deck is that you don't have to just rely on Starspring. You can kind of play like a Pantheon deck. So we run one of Pantheon that can just do insane things later on once he's leveled. But we also run Wounded Whiteflame and Mountain Drake. So Zenith Blade onto them creates really scary threats, because it grants an ally +1/+2 in Overwhelm. So you probably know by now it's really good on Whiteflame, but it should also be really good onto this Mountain Drake, since it grants the 2 health and Overwhelm. But because it's formidable, and gains 2 health on a kill instead of the +1/+1 like normal Fury, this can get stupidly big I think in this deck, especially when combined with Astral Protection. Astral Protection heals an ally 4 and then grants it 4 extra health on top of that. And since it's going to have Overwhelm, that makes it insanely dangerous. Zenith can also be kind of cool onto this Star Shepherd. You could consider running a different unit, like the 1-drop Faded, but I think that this will get much bigger since it gains 2 attack from every single time you heal something, which is going to happen whenever we use Guiding Touch, Starspring, Soraka, Winds of War, Astral Protection, and even Star Shaping. So another unit to consider playing would be the Broadback Protector. On round start you heal your Nexus 3, which can help against like aggro and stuff, but then you also deal damage to it, equal to the amount healed. And so it's a good unit to be healing up, with like Soraka, especially like the Astral Protection. You could also consider running more buffs like Pale Cascade, or more strike spells like Single Combat or Concerted. But yeah, that's about all I have for today. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Maybe even like the video, it would really help me out. And as always, if you want to see me play anything in the near future, you can leave a comment below. I make a Runeterra video every single day, so the extra ideas are definitely useful. And I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks.